Vern Kyle here. A truck has just dumped a load of 63 mil. This is this recycled material. I'm gonna speed this video up to 4 times speed, and we'll see how the viewers like that. One of the biggest challenges with this material is to try to get it placed without segregating it too much. If you're not careful with this stuff, you can end up with just complete chunks of concrete on top. And I like to say it'll look like popcorn on top if you're not careful. I'm going to show you a few things that I do to try to minimize that. Here I am placing it along the curb. There's in the end there's 125 of asphalt going here, so I'll rough this curb in at about 100, about 10 centimeters. Here I am wheel packing it. I usually wheel pack it twice, or once up, once back. And now I'll cut it down to about 10 centimeters. And as I do this, I'll be watching my slope meter. I'll probably be holding on about 3 or 4% right now, or trying to keep it about that. Now, one thing I do to try to combat this the segregation issue is when I'm blading this material lightly, I try to use a back blade on it instead of a forward blade. When I'm blading it heavily, it's not too bad. You don't have to worry about the segregation too much when you're pushing a lot of material. It's when you're blading lightly, that's when it really happens. I'm just bringing some material ahead here, trying to get the quantity balanced out to where I want it. And today I'm facing the trucks. The trucks are coming toward me, and that's usually how I do it anyway. When the trucks are dumping, they'll come in and I'll be facing them. For me, it seems to work out better that way. Now you see, I'm backblading these small windrows down, and that's one way that you can keep this material from getting too segregated on you. Because sometimes it comes in very dry, this material. If it's not too dry, you don't have that issue too bad. But sometimes it'll come in real dry, and segregation is a real issue with it. It's even getting a little segregated on top already there, as you can see. Now I've placed this material along the edge here already. I've already wheel packed it. Now I'm cutting down to 100, approximately 100. And I'm watching my slope meter. Now for this small windrow here, I'm backblading it. If it seems to help to backblade it instead of forward blade it, if this material starts to tumble in front of your blade, it can really fall apart on you. It can just turn into rocks on top. I'm just adjusting this a wee bit and using my back blade to do that. If I used my forward blade to do that, the segregation would be much worse. And the segregation's also getting a little bit, you can see it getting a little segregated there already. Mind you, this material's never been watered yet. And now I'm going to call Brian on the water truck, and he's going to come and water this section. And then Jesse will come and pack it with the pad foot after he's watered it. The step of watering and packing this material with the pad foot definitely helps with the issue of segregation. The pad foot will actually break up the concrete a little bit. If there's some pretty good sized chunks of concrete on top, the pad foot will break them a little bit. There's a truck come in and he's parked and he's going to start dumping. I always like to make sure there's a level spot or a more or less level spot for the trucks to park on when they start to hoist. If you don't, it can cause a lot of anxiety with the truck drivers because it's, being level when they dump is always a safety issue. I believe Brian is eventually watering this stuff with 4 passes. I think he ran out of water right now. He's gone to get another. He's gone to fill up with water again. Yeah, James and Rob are collecting tarps there. Yes, like I say, the pad foot can break this stuff on top a little bit, and it really helps actually. Here I am knocking down that truckload. Now I've just knocked down the last truck dump, and I'm making a level spot for the truck to dump on. He'll pass over this pile and be able to sit on quite a level spot there. This material can vary a little bit from day to day, depending on what the gravel crusher was crushing on that particular day. What kind of base stock or material they were crushing that day. This stuff actually looks pretty nice. This is about as nice as it'll get. There I am knocking it down, backblading it down. You really don't have to worry too much about the segregation when you're blading it heavily like this. When you're pushing a big windrow, the segregation doesn't really happen then. It happens more when you're blading it lightly, just trying to make small adjustments on it. That's when it really happens. Taking it over to the curb. I'll probably bring that windrow a little closer than that. Maybe I'll bring it into the curb already. You'll see what I do here. Yeah, I'm going to bring it into the curb already. Oh, going around the CB. Careful on the CBs. And letting it fall in there. This is a very important step. If you don't do this step right, you can cause a lot of work for the laborers by end up with a lot of material on that curb. I'm backblading it down a little bit. I'm adjusting it with a backblade a little bit. And now I'll probably wheel pack that edge. Yep. I'm going around the CB with my wheel, you see. I'm careful not to run over the face of that CB with my wheels as I'm doing this. Potentially you could crack it if you do that. You're best off just going around them. I'm going to mention something about these CBs. Once that material is out in front of them like that and it's been wheel packed a couple times, it helps to strengthen them. Once the material is out front like that and there is some material there, they're less likely to crack actually because there's some material in front to hold them. Because you see, if the CB cracks, they have to move out toward the road in order to crack. So if there's compacted gravel there, it has a harder time to move out toward the road. So there's a little less potential for them to crack once the material's up against it there and it's actually packed a little bit. I'm just adjusting this material with my back blade. Now I'm bringing this in around this CB. I'm always trying to be careful with this step of placing it along the curb because it's a very crucial step. Like I say, if you're not careful with it, you can cause a lot of labor work if you don't do that properly. There we go. I'm going to adjust this with my back blade again. I'm doing that to try to combat the segregation issue. I'm always thinking about segregation when I'm blading this stuff around. You have to. I wheel pack around this CB without driving over it, you see? Now I'll make one more pass out like that, wheel packing it. And now I'll cut this down to approximately 100. Careful around that CB. And I'll be watching my slope meter here. I'm probably holding on about 3 or 4% right now. So I'll be at 3 or 4% and I'll be about 100 in the gutter. And in the end, the gutter will be 125 and about 4 or 5%. There's Jesse on the packer. I hope you enjoyed the 4 times speed on this video, and if you did, would you please like and subscribe or leave a comment and tell me what you thought of it. We will see you next time.